Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so today we're doing something pretty specific. We've got our hands on some internal reconnaissance notes from some really big players.
That's right. We're talking about top-tier European star investors, the kind funding massive next-gen clean energy projects.
And our mission is to understand China's manufacturing ecosystem, not through, the usual reports, but through their eyes, through the eyes of some pretty tough calculating critic.
Exactly. And they flew into China with this, well, almost arrogant idea. They thought China's dominance in hardware, solar, batteries, electrolyzers, all that was just, cheap labor and subsidies.
Something easily copied if the West just threw enough money at it.
Yeah, they figured they'd just confirm what they already believed. They called the trip deep reconnaissance.
Deep reconnaissance. Okay, and what happened?
Well, what they saw just completely destabilized them. It wasn't just a minor adjustment. It was a full-on strategic retreat immediately.
Wow. So not just tweaking a plan.
No. They didn't just cancel one factory project. They pulled the plug on entire future investment pipelines. We're talking batteries, hydrogen electrolyzers, solar manufacturing, the works.
They essentially gave up on competing head-to-head with China on the physical hardware. That's huge. What did they see? What was this unseen force that made them capitulate like that?
They felt like they were fighting a ghost.
Yeah.
They saw something they realized was just totally unreplicable by Western standards, by how they organize industry.
Okay, this is where it gets really fascinating. Their first big stop, CATL, the battery empire.
The undisputed, yeah.
And the descriptions we have. Walking into this colossal facility, seeing 12 fully automated battery production lines just running like clockwork. Material handling, laser welding, quality checks, all machines.
Machine choreography is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And the detail that really, viscerally hit them. Not a single human shadow.
Yeah, people on the lines.
None. Just this deep, rhythmic industrial hum. A sound of immense power, but totally automated. And these seasoned investors, right, people who calculate risk for breakfast, apparently they were just struck silent.
Silent. And one of them used a specific word, didn't they? Too low.
Yeah, too low, which they took to mean basically unreplicable.
But why? I mean, can't you just buy the same robots? What makes it unreplicable?
That's what they realized. It wasn't just the equipment. Too low means the edge is systemic. CATL isn't just a factory. It's the outcome of what they call national-level system engineering, honed over a decade.
National level system engineer. Okay, what does that actually look like on the ground?
It connects everything. Policy, both local and national, that's designed for rapid scale-up. A whole network of suppliers, vertically integrated, who act almost like extensions of CATL's own R&D.
Wow.
Yeah, and then there's the logistics, getting minerals to the plant instantly. Even the data systems talking to the vehicles, using the batteries. The entire thing moves like one integrated body.
That's a massive structural advantage. It's like, you don't just have a fast car. You own the racetrack, the parts factory, and the fuel depot, too.
Exactly.
But what really shattered their assumption, the idea that China was just good at executing Western ideas.
It was the tech roadmap. They suddenly got it. While they, back in Europe, were still writing, feasibility studies on current tech. CATL already had its next 10 years mapped out. And wasn't just mapped out, they were already shipping prototypes of the generation after next.
Shipping prototypes of tech that's still theoretical elsewhere? I mean, example.
Okay, so we're talking Quillen batteries, that's next level, energy density, and safety. And they're already moving fast towards sodium ion, towards solid state. These are huge leaps.
Right.
The European way tends to be sequential. You plan, you test extensively, you certify, then you produce. CATL, they were already building the future while the West was still dotting the I's on planning the present. That speed R&D flowing straight into execution, that was shock number one.
That velocity, that systemic speed.
Yeah.
It became even clearer at the next stop, didn't it? Shanghai.
Mufang power.
Yeah, Mufang. They make these advanced gas turbines, really cutting-edge stuff, compatible with hydrogen, natural gas, ammonia, methanol, flexible fuel. Impressive tech. But that wasn't the main takeaway for the investors.
Okay, so what was?
It was the operational metabolism, the sheer speed of the supply chain behind the product.
Right.
The manager shared this anecdote. He said, look, if we need to optimize a turbine curve, right, and it needs some hyper-specific new alloy, maybe a totally new welding process,
Yeah.
a verified sample of that new material made with the new process, it arrives at their door in 3 days.
3 days. Okay, hold on. If you've ever worked in manufacturing or procurement,
Yeah.
that sounds like science fiction. 3 days for a custom verified sample.
Exactly. And the reaction from the European team, the word used was petrified.
Petrified, I can believe it. They knew instantly back home. Just the technical communication, getting the specs right between different companies, that takes weeks. Getting the actual specialized sample material, months. Often 6 months, maybe more, especially with certifications.
Wow, so we're talking, what, a speed difference of like 60 times? That's not about wages, that's something else entirely. What's driving that speed?
That's where you see the real Chinese competitive edge. It's pure system capability. It's not just cost anymore. The suppliers, they aren't just vendors like in the West. They're treated like integrated rapid response R&D partners.
So they're part of the same nervous system.
Precisely. The whole chain is digitally linked. It's platformized, servicified, and intelligent. It acts like one single national-level nervous network.
That's a powerful analogy. It's like comparing, I don't know, an integrated AI operating system where data flows instantly and actions happen immediately versus a bunch of separate companies working off different spreadsheets and quarterly contracts.
You got it. And when one part of that network hits a snag, a technical issue, that learning gets shared instantly across the system. The whole network adapts, like immediately. The efficiency isn't just making things cheap, it's about killing friction and maximizing adaptability.
Okay, so CATL showed them scale and integration. Mufang showed them the lightning speed of this network. But there was a third piece, right? The one that really sealed the deal on pulling back, Jiak Singh's Shine Science.
Ah, yes, Shine Science. This was the ultimate attack, as the source put it. This takes us into solar energy.
Specifically,
Perovskite silicon tandem solar cells. Now, this is widely seen as, like, the holy grail for photovoltaics. You layer 2 different materials, capture way more of the light spectrum, push efficiency way past what current silicon-only panels can do.
and in the West, this is still kind of under debate, right? Can it be scaled commercially?
Yeah, experts are still publishing papers arguing about the theoretical challenges of scaling it up. Meanwhile, Shine Science, they're already in mass production.
Mass production, while others are writing papers? That gap is just stunning. How does that speed compare to the other examples?
Well, think about commercializing a totally new material like perovskite in the West. You've got massive risk assessment hurdles, standardization processes, certification. It typically takes 5, maybe 10 years.
Right, a long haul.
In China, for things like this, the whole process gets compressed onto what the investors called a high-speed rail timetable. Prototypes get refined in weeks, full production lines, up and running in months.
Weeks and months, not years.
It's a fundamentally different industrial philosophy.
Which is?
Very empirical, very market-driven, basically. Run first, get market feedback instantly, iterate the R&D based on that. They accept some short-term failures or imperfections to gain that long-term market velocity.
Build, measure, learn, but at hyperspeed.
Exactly. And that time compression, weeks instead of years, that's when the investors realized, okay, we can never catch up by trying to build our own version of this.
So that led to the big pivot. If you can't beat them, join them, or coexist somehow.
Yeah, fighting seemed pointless. So they landed on this idea, described as wiser and more resilient. Strategic retreat from direct physical competition.
And focusing instead on
Integrating Western software with Eastern hardware. That became the new mantra.
Okay, that makes sense. China makes the best, cheapest, fastest batteries, solar panels, whatever. So let the West focus on the intelligence layer on top.
Precisely. Focus investment on the high-value, hard-to-copy stuff. Like, say, really advanced Western algorithms for battery management systems, the BMS. That complex software that optimizes charging, safety, lifespan for China's powerful hardware.
Seed the atoms, dominate the bits. Sounds like a defensible strategy. Like, there was a catch, right? A twist in the source material.
That was a pretty sobering one. The source warns that these investors, even after seeing all this, they still might be underestimating China's ambition.
How so?
Their whole pivot relies on the West keeping a permanent lead in software, in AI. And the warning is, that assumption is quickly becoming a delusion. China is advancing incredibly fast in software too, especially in AI that's tuned for exactly this kind of industrial and systemic coordination. In some areas, they might already be ahead of Europe.
Wow. Okay, if you can't even guarantee holding the software edge, that really does change everything about global competition in these sectors.
It does. And it leads us to the final, really profound conclusion the investors reached. After the automation, the speed, the sheer velocity, they realized they'd been living in, quote, a giant bubble.
A bubble of what?
A bubble of assumption. The assumption that the West held the secret sauce for modern industrial organization. And this realization produced the most powerful quote from the whole trip report.
Which was?
We thought China was copying us. Turns out, we are a civilization behind.
Oof, that hits hard. A civilization behind. That's not about tech specs anymore. That implies a fundamental difference in organizational philosophy.
It captures it perfectly. It's not just a tech gap, not just a capital gap. It's a gap in organizational power. It's the system's structural ability to treat whole industries like a living network.
A single entity.
Yeah, unified and dedicated to national priorities like energy security. And that requires leadership willing to accept long-term risk, even temporary failures, for the sake of the whole system gaining speed and scale.
And the contrast is pretty stark, isn't it? While one system is obsessively focused on removing friction and hitting warp speed, other systems often get tangled in regulatory debates, political cycles, arguing about principles, while the actual products are already flooding the global market.
The future, at least in terms of the infrastructure and manufacturing base for things like clean energy, is already being built right now in that accelerated ecosystem. It's driven by leadership that puts execution speed above almost everything else. And that creates a structural advantage that old tools like tariffs just can't really touch long term.
Okay, let's pause and reflect here. For you listening, maybe you're a founder, an investor, an engineer. If competing head-on is basically off the table for hardware manufacturing, what is the path forward? What's actionable?
The big lesson is you have to recognize those structural barriers. You don't win by taking on the strongest player in their absolute strongest domain, which right now is high-scale, high-speed, low-cost manufacturing.
So don't fight that fight.
Right. You win through smart differentiation and, crucially, collaboration.
Okay, so where are those opportunities? The sources pointed to a few areas where strategic retreat could still create a lot of value, areas harder to replicate quickly. First one was basic science.
Foundational breakthroughs, yeah. Think really fundamental quantum computing research or discovering entirely new classes of materials before they hit that industrial ecosystem, or maybe highly specialized scientific instruments, stuff that's still years, maybe decades away from being commoditized. That's where Western research depth and arguably academic freedom can still lead.
Okay, basic science. What's the second area?
Developing totally new business models around the Chinese hardware.
Ah, the service layer.
Exactly. Like battery as a service. You separate the expensive battery from the car purchase, who needs huge logistical skill, swap networks, predictive maintenance software, very complex systems. You don't build the battery, you build the ecosystem that maximizes its value and use.
Makes sense. And the third path?
Green finance. Carbon credit platforms. This massive energy transition needs trillions in investment, complex tracking, verification. Western financial expertise can build the sophisticated platforms, the marketplaces, the risk models, the architecture to actually finance and deploy all this hardware globally.
So the message isn't game over, don't bother. It's more like, don't try to build the next CATL in your garage.
Right.
Instead, figure out how to strategically plug into the existing CATL or its equivalent.
That's the absolute key takeaway. You have to understand China's system deeply. It's not just a bunch of factories. It's an integrated ecosystem. It's not just an industry. It's a rapid response system. And thinking about collaboration, not just confrontation, is probably the only realistic long-term path to creating value together.
Well, we hope this deep dive into that industrial coordination, that systemic efficiency, has given you a clearer map of where competitive advantage really lies today, and maybe spark some constructive curiosity about finding those unique value-add opportunities.
And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with. If these very experienced investors concluded that the ultimate edge today is systemic efficiency, the ability for a whole society to coordinate and execute rapidly, what's one specific change you could make in your own company or your industry, maybe even your city? How could you mimic even a fraction of that collaborative speed instead of just waiting for the whole country's operating logic to shift?
That is definitely the question to chew on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into China's unseen industrial engine.
We look forward to exploring the next frontier with you soon.